It was my birthday a few weeks ago, and I'm getting to the birthdays where there are less days ahead than there are behind, which is terrifying. And it really got me looking back at a few things. And one of the things that really surprised me was that I've been doing this job professionally for 22 years. And, well, thank you. And it really kicked off in a big way with a man named Mark Butler. He was a man who invested in me heavily early on. He recruited me to work alongside him in his ministry to middle schoolers at Calvary Baptist Church in Canton, Michigan. It was a ministry of about 80 to 100 students on Wednesday nights, and I had volunteered with a smaller youth ministry in the area, but it didn't end well, and I was on the waiver wire, and Mark picked me up in free agency. So I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life at the time, but Mark saw something in me. I couldn't tell you what it was because I was so unsure of myself. But Mark invested in me and he showed me the amazing life of a youth ministry. Butler taught me that connection matters. Sure, his ministry had about 80 students coming on Wednesday nights, but he was worried about the 5 or 6 students on the back wall that didn't seem to connect. He told me that was my ministry, that was my focus. He wanted me to connect with students who didn't quite fit. And he saw that ability in me that I was unaware of. And it had become something I loved to do for the past 22 years. Mark took the time to teach me how to speak in front of large groups. He worked with me on how to write a lesson, a talk, or a sermon. He guided me in developing my style. I used to love using video clips and music videos and songs in my teachings. I still do on Sunday nights, but it was Mark who helped develop that skill. He taught me how to study the Bible, mine it for insights, and structure a lesson that was engaging. I remember we were doing these standalone Sunday school lessons, and the students got to choose the topic that interested them. They got like a guide, and they would flip through the guide, and they would choose the class that interested them. There were 4 or 5 different teachers on that Sunday, and the students, like I said, got to choose their interests. I was doing a lesson on how to be a discerning Christian in the midst of our culture. But Butler in the guide titled my class, "Is Britney Spears a Christian?" This was the height of Britney Spears' fame, and based on that title alone, I had 60 middle and high school guys attend my Sunday school class. All dudes. It was crazy. I still haven't forgiven them for that. But the fact that I'm standing in front of you today is a testament and a direct result of the time spent with me by Mark Butler. Mark was the guy who came up with the idea for the Maltese Mayhem that we do here at Hope Church. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's when the volunteer leaders and the 11th and 12th graders dress up in disguises and hide in the Cherry Hill Mall in the middle of the Christmas rush in December. Middle schoolers are broken into teams, and they have to find us for points in a 2-hour window. Mall security is not a fan of this, which is why I don't tell them. Now, I've been personally kicked out of malls in Michigan for this game, and we actually had one student kicked out 2 years ago. To be fair, his fake beard was not the greatest, and he dressed like an Amazon driver with Amazon packages, which doesn't make much sense at a mall, but I didn't have the heart to tell him. He was so excited. It was awesome. But he was the definition of suspicious. Who knows what God has in store for our infamous Amazon driver? I had the opportunity to invest in more than a few students over the years. One student in particular comes to mind, and his name is Ben. I met him when he was just an annoying 7th grader, but don't you know that it's the kid who annoys you the most that God has the biggest plans for? Parents, there is hope for you in this room. He decided to become my intern when I was living in Ohio, and I invested in him the same way that Mark Butler invested in me. We did life together. I taught him how to create a lesson like Butler taught me. I showed him how to have fun while also running safe events, and how to care for individual students because individual stories matter. He's now a youth pastor in South Lyon, Michigan. That is the legacy of Mark Butler investing in me. The gospel was passed from Butler to me to Ben. This was life on life discipleship. We're in this Sent series, and we're asking the question, where is God sending you? And is it possible that he has you in this place at this time because this is your mission field? Rick talked about the sent idea last week. Jesus invited Peter out of the boat to a place where Jesus already was. Jesus has the same invite for us. Jesus invested in his disciples by doing life with them. It wasn't just the classrooms and the Sermon on the Mount and Sunday morning sermons. Sure, there were some of those, but it was also walking and talking along the way. It was bonfire chats. It was trial and error as Jesus sent these disciples out 2 by 2 on short-term mission trips. Rick asked the question, what does it look like for us to step into the world, be sent into the world around us? Where is God sending you and where is God sending me today? And we're going to be continuing with this sent idea this morning, talking about who are we sent to, who are we investing in? I'm so thankful for Mark Butler, who God sent to me. It was a quick trip as we lived 20 minutes away, but it was a life-changing sent for me. Butler invested in me over time, giving me more and more to do. It was learning by doing under his watchful eye. The idea of being sent to invest in a person is not a new idea. In fact, it's all over the Bible. Jesus wasn't the only one in the Bible who invested in the younger generation. We see classic examples all over the Bible like Moses and Joshua, Elijah and Elisha, and a man named Paul and his protege, Timothy. Paul was a missionary on fire. He traveled incredible distances, sharing the love of God. I remember sitting in church pews when my dad was preaching and I wasn't quite paying attention, and I would flip through the back of the Bible to the maps, and I would look at the maps, and it was the pictures of the people's travels that always caught my attention. And Paul's map was by far the craziest, as you traced his missionary journeys from here to there to back again. Paul took 3 major missionary journeys all over the Middle East and as far as Rome, and it's estimated that Paul traveled nearly 9,000 miles over 10 to 12 years, mostly on foot, sometimes by ship. But Paul was a force. He had a good news message that he couldn't contain. But it wasn't the distance that was the most powerful thing about him. It was the lives he invested in and partnered with. Often when he left a place, he left a church to keep the mission alive. And more importantly, he left people in charge of that church, and they carried the message of Jesus Christ forward in those areas. He partnered and invested in people to keep the gospel message alive. And one person, like I said, that Paul partnered with was a young man named Timothy. He was likely an older teenager or maybe in his early 20s when Paul first met him. We first meet Timothy. It's in the book of Acts. The Bible reads in Acts chapter 16, Timothy was well thought of by the believers in Lystra and Iconium. Not super descriptive, but if we aren't careful, we can overlook someone for a variety of reasons, and being young is just one of them. Paul saw potential where others saw youth. Potential is something that Mark Butler saw in me. He saw a young, awkward guy who hadn't quite discovered who he was, and he took the time and he invested in me. One of the reasons I am the man today that I am is because Butler invested in me. Now, Timothy had a good reputation among the local church, and Paul looked for ways to develop that. Timothy wasn't a church leader of the future. He was a leader Paul developed in the present. Paul invites Timothy out on the road with him, and Timothy's real education begins because Paul and Timothy do real life together. Paul invests in Timothy in everything from leadership lessons, how to communicate the message of Jesus, how to start and lead a church, encourages him as he faces challenges, and I'm sure Paul handled all sorts of questions. There are 2 books in the Bible dedicated to Timothy and his leadership of a local church. The 2 books are letters from Paul to Timothy because Timothy didn't have the luxury of text messages and FaceTime. Paul modeled a very important principle. The gospel was never meant to stop with us. God invests in us so that we can invest in others. In 2 Timothy, we find Paul's ministry philosophy that truly helped grow the church to what it is today. Check out 2 Timothy 2:2. 2 Timothy 2 says, "You have heard me teach things that have been confirmed by many reliable witnesses. Now teach these truths to other trustworthy people who will be able to pass them on to others." We see a formula in this passage. Check it out. The gospel message goes from Paul to Timothy to trustworthy people to others. Notice the heart of Paul's message for Timothy isn't to set up another awesome program, an event, or a sermon series. It's people. Paul invested in Timothy, and he trusted Timothy to invest in other trustworthy people who invested in more people down the line. Now, you're probably a Christ follower today, not because of a great singular sermon, but because someone took the time to invest in you. Now, take a second. Who was the person who invested in you and helped shape your faith? Maybe it was a parent. Maybe he was a Sunday school teacher at a young age, a youth volunteer during those delicate teen years, or conversations with a spouse or someone in a similar life circumstance right where you are at now. Who invested in you is an important question, but a more important question might be, who are you investing in? Next generation ministry matters. Most faiths form during kid and teen years. Now, I think I have one of the hardest asks in the church. Youth ministry is not easy, but it's rewarding. There's an opportunity to be a positive force in the lives of students. Research suggests that students who develop a meaningful relationship with adults in the church beyond their parents are significantly more likely to maintain their faith into adulthood. You could be one of those adults. But here's my tough ask. Are you available for nearly 30 Sunday nights during the school year, a weekend retreat in the dead of winter, a week-long summer mission trip, and maybe some summer nights on the side? I get it. I get the sideways glances and the quick runs to the bathroom when you see me coming down the hall, when you know that Hope Youth is about to begin and I'm looking for adult volunteers. I get it. I only cry on the inside. So why do it? Because it needs done and it's important. The gospel was never meant to stop with us. God invests in us so that we can invest in others. The reason we make the ask is that it can be one of the best returns of investment. We can be literal life changers, and we have lots of laughs along the way. There are countless odd-beard Amazon stories in youth ministry. We do it because the mission of the church has always been multiplication, not preservation. The church grows when mature believers intentionally invest in younger believers, trust them with responsibility, and send them out to lead. Mission trips, mentoring relationships, and student ministry are not side projects of the church. They are how the church has always fulfilled the mission. We are not called to merely preserve the faith for ourselves. We are called to multiply it in others. Now, Hope Church has a history of mission trips all over the country. Sometimes it takes 2 whole days of van travel to get there, and sometimes it's just 20 minutes down the road. Student mission trips matter because they accelerate discipleship. When students serve, worship, pray, and share life together, they aren't just learning about faith, they are practicing faith. Student mission trips are special for the students who are going, but they are really an opportunity for adults to invest in students the way Paul invested in Timothy. Life-on-life discipleship happens in the midst of strange places like Altoona, Pennsylvania, Detroit, Michigan, Kezar, North Carolina, Rio Grande, Ohio, and Logan, West Virginia. Tourist destinations, one and all. These are the trips that I've led for Hope Youth for the past 4 years. This year we're doing something slightly different. We're heading 20 minutes down the road to Camden. I want our ministry to live out the example of Paul and Timothy. I want our students to connect with people, specifically the people like the kids and the Camden community. We are working with Urban Promise, helping with their day camp program in the morning. They have 4 sites with as many as 80 Camden elementary kids coming to each site. We'll be coming alongside Urban Promise staff and Urban Promise street leaders who are high schoolers that are getting on-the-job training with the day camp program. We'll be serving with them to make the day camp program run. We'll also be doing service projects at Urban Promise's main campus to get them cleaned, organized, and prepared for a new school year in the fall. We're going to Camden, where Jesus already is, to work with kids Jesus already knows and to discover the love that Jesus offers us all. This is an opportunity to partner with an amazing organization right here in our backyard. Now, the reason this trip really appealed to me was the opportunity for our students to invest in the kids at the day camp program while being invested in by the adults of Hope Church. I wanted our students to have a leadership opportunity. I wanted them to experience the thrill, the fear of the unknown, and the joy of knowing kids by name who they have the opportunity to invest in. We have amazing adult volunteers who have gone on trips and are going on this trip. We are living Paul's people investment strategy in new and exciting ways. Remember, the gospel came to Paul, to Timothy, to trustworthy people, to others. But now it's the gospel came to Hope Church, to adult volunteers, to Hope students, to Camden kids. Mission trips like Urban Promise and Malawi are opportunities to invest in the people with the hope of the gospel, the love of Christ, and the goal of investing in more people. There is a reason the church spread like wildfire back in the day. The reason is sent people invested the gospel and trusted others with the hope of the message continuing. And that message did. Hope Church is a testament to the enduring power of the gospel being invested in person after person after person. One of the churches I still pay attention to sits in the shadow of Michigan State University. Their church population is made up in large part by Michigan State students. But way back in the day, the adults in the church as a whole made the commitment to invest in Michigan State students. Adults sacrificed their wants and bent their needs to this huge student population. They were sent to the university right in their backyard. Their ministry philosophy was summed up in this simple statement: Riverview Church makes disciples who make disciples who go. How cool is that? My challenge for all of us today is, who are you investing in? Rick talked about it last week. Standing still is not following. Just sitting on the chairs on Sunday is not following. Who are you sent to? Following means pursuing Jesus and looking for opportunities to invest in others with the hope of the gospel. A couple of quick lessons about being sent people to the next generation from Paul. Let's check out back with that formative verse for Timothy. You've heard me teach these things that have been confirmed by many reliable witnesses. Now teach these truths to other trustworthy people who will be able to pass them on to others. It's Paul to Timothy to trustworthy people to others. The first thing we see from Paul is that Paul teaches us that sent people value the next generation. Paul invested in Timothy because he saw the value of the individual. He saw the qualities that could be developed and invested heavily in Timothy, and then planted him as a leader in an important church. And he kept investing through letters and instructions. Timothy was a diamond in the rough. Young people are like that. If young people are diamonds in the rough, then Hope Church is a diamond mine. Trust me, we have incredible students. Student ministry isn't glamorous. We often don't get recognized for the hours we put in, but there's something truly rewarding about investing in the next generation. We get to be there as they start processing and adopting their faith as their own. Not only are we there for their faith formation, but we are doing life with students. We're often sounding boards from everything from faith questions, dating do's and don'ts, life hardships and successes, first experiences, and some of the biggest moments, good or bad, in a student's life. Over a 22-year career, I can tell you it's rewarding in unexpected and surprising ways. Like when the most annoying kid follows God's calling and becomes a pastor and you get to call him friend. I got a call 4 years ago, right before moving here to New Jersey, from my intern from Ohio, from Ben. And he wanted me to be the best man in his wedding. The annoying 7th grader turned into a lifelong friend, asked me to be to ask me the greatest honor because I took the opportunity to invest in him all those years ago. How cool is that? Student ministry is less about what you know and more about, are you there for students? My mentor, Mark Butler, used to say that belonging precedes believing. Meaning, from a student's perspective, do you care for me and are you present in my life? If you are, then you are worth listening to. Presence oftentimes speaks more than book knowledge. Thank the Lord for our volunteers who are investing in our kids and students. If you haven't met the kids or the leaders in the back in kids ministry or your student ministry leaders and haven't dropped them a thank you note, please do. They are making incredible investments in our students because they are worth it. Another thing I see from the life of Paul about being sent people is that sent people teach through experience, not observation. Timothy's classroom wasn't in the four walls of a school. It was on the road side by side with Paul. The investment was sweat equity done alongside the more established Paul. The reason we do mission trips is because the experience away from home, without phones, and in the presence of adults who care is more beneficial than hours of Jason lessons. Believe me, it's true. Mission trips, when done well, are not glorified tourist trips with some light painting and landscaping. Mission trips are labs where students learn by doing. Mission trips are an experience where questions are asked and faith is modeled. They are week-long investments in the lives of middle and high school students as they process their faith, as they love beyond measure, as they serve long days, and learn about the community just around the corner that often gets forgotten and overlooked. A few years ago, we were in Logan, West Virginia with our middle school students, and we had the opportunity to serve the unhoused population and people who needed food. We were really stretching ourselves this time. We came with the expectation of doing service projects like painting, sorting clothes for a clothes closet, and some light home repairs. But then this opportunity to serve the homeless and the needy was not on the agenda. Students alongside leaders cooked spaghetti, garlic bread, and put together some salad. Then we set up tables and waited for the unknown. This event was put together by a number of different churches across denominations. It was a true mix. A pastor got up and spoke to the people as they served and they ate, and then he invited some of our students to get up and speak and share. I didn't expect much of a response because this was definitely out of our comfort zone. But a few students did, and their words were amazing. Just sharing love with a population that's often overlooked. Then we had some leaders share. It was a powerful moment. That was the essence of a mission trip. Then some of the leaders of the local church surrounded our students and prayed for them. They even spoke in tongues, which definitely alarmed some of our students, and made for some great conversations on the van ride home. If you know, you know. The mission trip provided the environment, and God showed up. Discipleship happened as leaders and students stepped out of their comfort zones for the sake of others and the gospel. It was an unexpected and unplanned excursion on a random Tuesday night, but it became the highlight of the week. The experience was the greatest teacher. There are countless moments like this on mission trips. Mission trips like this Camden with Urban Promise are an amazing opportunity for students to serve alongside adults who model faith and maturity. Students will not just be learning about the gospel, but experiencing it in parks, in classrooms, and on service projects, and in the faces of students that they will be serving. The experience can be an amazing teacher and can last a lifetime. Discipleship happens best through experiences and not lectures. Timothy learned on the road from Paul. I learned in the chaos of a middle school ministry with Mark Butler. Ben McLean learned by doing life with me in the mean streets of Xenia, Ohio. Join us in one of the most adventurous and unexpected ministries in the church. Help us create experiences this coming year at Hope and outside the walls of the church. That last lesson from Paul is sent people look for opportunities to multiply. Sent people look for opportunities to multiply. Paul's goal was never to keep Timothy dependent on him. The goal of investment is multiplication. Paul trusted Timothy. Timothy taught others. Those others taught others. That's the mission. One of the things that the adults on the mission trip do really well is to trust students to do 90% of the work. Adults invest in the 8 to 10 students that are right in front of them, and then the students take it and run. Oftentimes it's a show me once or twice and then step back as students take the lead. We do a great job of empowering students and adults on mission trips, but are we doing that here in Voorhees? Is Hope Church making disciples who make disciples who go? Am I? This is a powerful question that I need to wrestle with, and I hope you will too. I'm notorious for taking on more and more responsibility and making it my show. This is the trap I often fall into. I keep doing all of it and then failing to invest in the people in my orbit. I need to be more like Paul. I need to identify and invite others into ministry with me. It's a tremendous joy that I can't keep to myself. One of my goals for this Urban Promise mission trip is that it not be a mission trip that is a 1-week experience that doesn't affect the next 51 weeks. We're planning to develop a relationship with Urban Promise and their ministries that we can invest in for the coming year and beyond. My hope is that the students and leaders learn names and faces and have experiences that will drive them to go back and partner and serve with Urban Promise throughout the year. Maybe you could come alongside us as we partner and serve in Camden over the coming year. Maybe you can come alongside Hope Youth on Sunday nights or Hope Kids on Sunday mornings. Be sent people and help us invest in the people and multiply Hope's reach this coming year to the next generation. Our success is not measured by the numbers who show up on Sunday mornings or Sunday night youth group. Our success is who we are investing in and who we are raising up. Sent people value the next generation. Sent people teach through experience, not observation. Sent people look for opportunities to multiply. This is how faith is passed on. This is how students become leaders. That's how the church is sent into the world, and that's why mission trip matters. They create opportunities for one generation to invest in the next, so the gospel keeps moving forward. There's a really cool concept called Just 5 Adults. It's a principle pioneered by Fuller Youth Institute and the Indiana Youth Institute. This idea posits that every young person needs at least 5 consistent, caring adults in their lives. This supportive web acts as a buffer against trauma and builds resilience. These figures don't replace parents, rather they form an intergenerational team of mentoring guides. This is the gift that Hope Church can provide for our kids and our youth. Again, this is all about presence over specialized knowledge. Students are asking, are you there for me? Will you answer the call? Let me invite the band back up. If you're looking for some other ways to partner with us this summer, we're collecting supplies for the Urban Promise Day Camp, like construction paper and scissors, pens and colored pencils, markers, glue sticks, Scotch tape, painter's tape, masking tape, water bottles. If you want to donate to that, drop them off in my office. Come talk to me. Or we're looking at helping some students who may need a little extra help financially to fund their trip. Talk to me afterwards if these are things that interest you. God is looking for sent people to see what he is up to right here and right now. Let me close with a simple question that has a profound implication. Who are you sent to? How are you investing in the next generation this year? Will you stand with me as we close?